Leaving open areas is just as important as filling up areas. Hi everyone, it's Carol from Discover Interior Design, and I'm so glad you're here. Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about the design concept of negative space, which is something that other design fields and even art uses to be intentional about leaving open areas or almost leaving empty spaces as part of a design. So let's get started to take a look at this at a deeper level and to see how you can consider that when you are working on the interior design of your home. So one of the first things to notice about space is that space is actually one of our design elements. And so those tools like color or line or texture that we use to create a certain look and feel that we want. And part of space is using that to help us create a harmonious look, a balanced look. And when we think of negative space specifically, we're talking about those empty areas that are left open and empty on purpose. The opposite of that is what's called positive space, which are those actual physical things that are taking up space. A really good example of this is if we look at a floor plan, a furniture layout, bird's eye view of a room. Those empty spaces around the pieces of furniture is the negative space, whereas the pieces of furniture is what we refer to as the positive space. And there are a number of reasons why we would want to be intentional about leaving open space, open areas, negative space in the designs of our home and of our rooms. And we'll cover 3 of those. The first one to think about is that it gives our rooms, our home, maybe places to pause, places for our eyes to rest, so that not everything is filled up with different objects or different elements. And in a way, we could almost call that kind of breathing room. And it's important when creating a balanced look to have some breathing room, some empty areas, some open areas, as well as having areas that are filled up with something. And having that breathing space, that area for our eyes to rest, gives us a chance to step back and ask questions if we need certain things in a room, or would it be better just to leave some open space? And in addition to giving us a chance to kind of pause and rest our eyes, it also is a great way of helping to fill up a room with more light, because it'll give natural lighting as well as artificial lighting a place to reflect off of, to add more light to our space, and also a chance to create shadows, and that helps to add variety to a room. And another important thing that negative space, open areas can help us do is to help us lead our eyes towards, say, a focal area, something that we want our eyes to be drawn to in a room. When we have open area around a focal area, it actually creates a lot of contrast, because now we're focused on looking at that object or that element in the room, and it's not competing with anything else. It's just surrounded by open area. And we can think about going to an art museum where they are very intentional about using negative space around paintings. And when we notice that at a museum, then we notice those artworks more when there's space around them. Space for our eyes to pause, but also space to lead our eyes to look at that artwork. We can apply that in our own home. If we want to hang a piece of artwork, say, over our sofa, and we leave negative space around it, open area around that artwork, right away we'll be drawn to that artwork. But if we decided to place other pieces of artwork on that wall around that painting, yes, we would still notice that artwork, but not as much. We would notice different types of artwork, and we would notice that entire grouping of artwork, but we would lose some of that emphasis that open area around that central artwork provides to help grab our attention. Even if we have architectural features maybe in a room where we want them to be our focal areas, having negative space, empty areas, open areas around those features helps again to guide our eyes to notice those really wonderful features. And another thing that negative space helps us do is to create a functional layout, say, of different furniture in a room. When we are planning the layout of a room, we want to figure out where to put all the furniture and any other objects. But the other important part of that is to work with the negative space all around those pieces of furniture. There are two types that we want to always incorporate and think about when we're planning the layout of a room. We want to plan where we are going to set aside open areas, negative space, for pathways so we can move easily and there's a nice flow from one area of the room to another area of the room or outside of the room. We also want to set aside space around the furniture. We could call that clearances around a piece of furniture because we need that so that that piece of furniture is going to be functional. So for instance, having space in between your coffee table and your sofa is negative space, open area that's free and clear of anything. And it provides a chance for us to get in and out of the sofa easily, as well as being able to access anything on the coffee table. So negative space is just as important as the positive space, all of those different things that we're going to be placing in a room so that we can create both a functional and balanced look to that space. So what can you do to be intentional about leaving some empty or open areas in your room and what we refer to as negative space? One thing is just to make sure to leave some open areas. The other is to leave open areas around focal areas. And also when you're planning the layout of a room, make sure that you set aside empty space, negative space for pathways and clearances for furniture. So let me know if you have any questions about this topic. And also, I'd love to hear from you. What are your ideas or what have you done in your place where you left some open areas? You use negative space to make sure that your room was functional as well as balanced. And please share your ideas in the comments so that others can learn from you as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.